Hello everyone, welcome to this session. So in this video we are going to talk about or discuss about socket programming and a general communication model called client server communication model. So let's start with this client server communication model. So it's a very simple communication model where we have two main entities. One is the client and another one is the server. Okay, so I'm going to repeat again. So in client server communication model, as the name itself implies, there are two main entities. One is client, another one is server. So what is the responsibility of a client is the client is going to send requests. Okay. For example, let's say this is your system, and at this system, that is on your system, you are opening Google Chrome. You are opening the browser Google Chrome, and using this Chrome, you are going to, you are opening the website Facebook.com. Okay, and let's say the server belongs to Facebook. So this is the FB's or Facebook's server. So when you hit www.facebook.com, that is the request you are sending to FB server. Okay. And now what will the Facebook server do? The Facebook server will accept the request. Okay. Process the request and then send back the response. Okay. So the server is going to accept the request, process the request, and send back the response to the client, whoever requested the particular resource. Okay. So this is the main theme of client server communication model. So in the client server communication model, the main responsibility of the client is sending requests. Okay, and the main responsibilities of the server is to listen to the clients and accept the request and processing those requests and sending back some responses back to the client. So this is a very simple thing. Okay, I hope you have all understood what is client server communication model. Now we are going to implement this model using socket programming in Java. Okay, now let's discuss about some of the fundamental concepts in socket programming. So first of all, before going to look at what is a socket, you need to understand what is a port. So in a computer system, a port is a logical entity. So that means you can't see it. And what is the purpose of the port is it is going to act as a point of communication between two entities. For example, I said client is going to send a request to the server. So the client is going to open a port on its own system, and the server is also going to open a port on its own server, that is the CPU. Okay, and if you consider a system, there are total of 65,535 ports. So in a system, there are total of 65,535 ports. And in those 65,535 ports, the first 1,024 ports are called as well-defined ports. Okay, the first 1,024 ports are called as well-defined ports. What is the meaning of well-defined ports? Is they are already associated. Uh, they are already associated to some protocols. Okay, they are pre-associated to some protocols, or you can say they are prefixed, already fixed with to particular protocols. For example, if you take HTTP protocol, uh, the port number for HTTP protocol is 80. So you can't use this port for your own purpose. So that's what I mean by well-defined ports. So if you take FTP, file transfer protocol, this is already using the port numbers 20 and 21. Okay, so like this, lot of protocols are already using different ports in the first 1024 range. Okay, so what you have to know is whatever application you are going to use that is communicating using that internet IP, they are going to use a particular port. Okay, so let's move on and let's see what is a socket. Now, how do you define a socket? Is it's a combination of IP address and port. So it's a combination of IP address plus the port number on the system. Okay. So let me go back to the previous slide. Okay. So right here, I told you that this client is going to open facebook.com and this is the facebook.com server. That means whenever this browser is going to request send a request, it is going to open a socket. Okay. And here also the Facebook server is going to open a socket. Okay. So that means, as I already told you, the socket means IP plus port. That is how a socket is identified on a system. IP address plus port. So similarly on the server also it has some IP address plus port. Okay. Right. Mm, so that's how this socket and ports work. Okay. So you can say both sockets and ports are logical. That means you can't see them. They are logical entities. So whenever a client wants to talk with a server or send request and receive response, the client has to open a socket and the server has to open a socket. So that is the basic thing that is needed for client server communication. Okay. So that is about the introduction to socket programming. Now let's see how this socket programming can be implemented in Java. Okay. So this socket programming done using Java can be either connection oriented or it can be connectionless. Okay. So it can be connection oriented or connectionless. If connection oriented means the communication is done using TCP and connectionless means the communication is done using UDP protocol. Okay. Transmission control protocol and user datagram protocol. Right. And what do we do using socket programming? We communicate between systems which are running on the same Java runtime environment. Okay, that is JVM. Right. So when you want your application to maintain connections, that is communication using connection oriented thing, we will use the classes server and server socket. Okay, if you want connection oriented communication, we will use the classes socket and server socket. Right. If you want connectionless communication between client and server, we will use the classes datagram socket and datagram packet. Okay, it is straightforward. And all these classes server socket, datagram socket, and datagram packet, they are available in the package java.net. So if you want to do server socket programming using Java, you need to import the java.net package. Okay, so let's continue. And this is the process, the basic process that is going to take place in case of socket programming. So the first entity that needs to be started is server. So this is the first entity that needs to be started. So a server will open a socket and it will listen on the socket. Okay. By socket I mean a port will be opened and the server will be listening to connections, incoming connections on that port. Okay. Now the client will start and it will send some request. Okay. by using the connect call. Okay, the client will send a connection request by using the connect call. So once the server accepts the call, it is going to say the connection is created. Okay, and after the connection is created, the client and server can talk with each other, that is send and receive data. And finally, when the task is over, the client is going to close the connection and the server is going to read that request and finally close the connection. Okay, so both the client as well as server are terminated. So this is the process followed by client and server using socket programming. Okay, so that's it about the client server model and socket programming through Java. So in the next video, we're going to look at the program, connection oriented program for communication between client and server. Thank you.